So I did the thing. I saw Morbius. I was really not excited for this movie, really whatsoever. Um, there was a time I was excited for this thing. I mean, the concept of a vampire anti-hero, almost horror movie type superhero Marvel film seemed intriguing to me. The trailers at first didn't seem too bad, not really, but the more and more I saw them, the more and more and more and more and more the trailer for this movie kept being released and this movie kept getting delayed. I just lost all faith in it. And so did everybody else in the world. And I don't know, I was ready to just not see this movie and move on with my life. But I did end up seeing it. So yeah, let's get right into my thoughts with Morbius. Surprise, surprise! This thing is terrible. Yeah, this movie is significantly a lot worse actually than I thought it was going to be. I expected it to be bad. I expected to not really like it, but I also expected to just like whatever. The Venom movie that came out last year, Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I didn't think I reviewed it, but I did see it, and my reaction was virtually the same to that movie. Which is what I thought my reaction to Morbius was going to be like. Oh, this is just boring. This is just really nothing. This is a really nothing movie. So yeah, but this movie is a lot worse than that. It is hard to sit through. This was the longest hour and 45 minutes of my entire life, I think. I kept waiting for it to end and waiting for it to end, and it just wouldn't. Just kept going on and dragging, and virtually nothing happens in this movie. Excuse me. Little to zero actual plot or actual story structure is in this film whatsoever. I'll get more into that later, but this is such an aimlessly boring movie. It is so monotonous and so stock and so whatever that it grates on your mind how nothing this movie is. Jared Leto has absolutely no screen presence on this thing. I mean, there was a time where I considered him a good actor, a good performer. There was a time where I liked 30 Seconds of Mars. There was a time where, I would be excited if he was involved with a project. But now that he's basically the guy from the main antagonist, cult leader from Far Cry 5, but in real life, yeah, I kind of hate the dude. And this movie is just an extension of that. He just had no screen presence whatsoever. He was a nothing leading man. And I kind of knew going into this that he would ruin this movie for me. And his Michael Morbius as a character just gives me nothing. He had no personality. He had no banter, really. All of his attempts at humor were just face-palmingly bad. Any sort of range of emotion he was trying to get he did not hit it whatsoever. Jared Leto's performance in this may go down as one of the worst leading performances in any superhero movie ever. The script just had absolutely no direction. This is what I was talking about earlier. It had no means to an end to it. It was just stumbling onto each scene completely aimlessly. There was no care in the world for character development or any resemblance of payoff. There was no emotional core to this movie. It was just things happening and people semi-reacting to those things. Because even then, like the guy from Last Night in Soho that was in this movie, the villain, he is just kind of overacts a little bit and then is barely in the movie. His relationship with Morbius is just not there at all. They show one scene in the very beginning of the movie as them as kids, and when they're kind of friends at the very beginning, and it just isn't does not really work. They kind of skip an intro to this movie. They forgot how to write a first act. Same thing with the Venom movie. I don't know what it is about these Sony non-MCU Marvel movies that just forget to have a first act, but this movie also forgot that. And it has nothing below the surface. It has barely anything on the surface. I mean, I guess some of the action sequences were fine. I guess it's not the absolute worst movie I've ever seen, kind of, but This movie gives you nothing to hang on to. It gives you nothing to be like, oh, at least there was that one scene, or oh, at least there was that one little thing that I liked. This movie gives you nothing. This is a nothing movie. It is so bland and so just nothing. I have no words to really say. I don't have anything more to say than just Morbius was nothing. It gave me no pleasure enjoy watching it. It wasn't even funny bad. It wasn't bad in an interesting way. It wasn't bad in a way I could talk about. It's bad in the way where you're thinking to yourself the entire time, why did they make this? Why didn't they just scrap this after it was delayed a bunch of times? Why did they just scrap this after Jared Leto was involved? This movie is something else. There's always got to be one. There's always got to be one superhero movie to come out every once in a while, maybe every couple 2 years, where it's just terrible, and we all have to collectively be like, that was a mistake, please don't do that again. And the studios are like, okay, well, we won't do that again for a while, and then they do it again. Last year was Eternals, and yeah, I didn't think that movie was that bad. Not nearly as bad as Morbius, but that happened last year, and then I think the year before that, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. But like 2019 was Captain Marvel. You see where I'm going with this. It's just, there is bad superhero movies made virtually every single year, and Morbius is 2022's that. It is 2022's kind of just dumpster fire of an action movie. And it's going to be pretty hard topping this, in my opinion. The effects and direction feel dated 15 years ago. Like if this had come out in 2008, 2009, people then would have been like, this feels like a cheesy-ass 90s movie. And even people in the 90s were probably like, this is just a cheesy-ass movie. And because it is. This movie is corny. It is directionless. It is aimless, just like this review. And it really could have just been a slam dunk of an entertaining movie. Take a villain in the Spider-Man's like ethos, and who's kind of unknown. He's not really a popular character, even to people who like mildly read the comic books like me. Like I didn't know that too much about him until I read up a little bit before I saw this movie. Take a kind of interesting character, make this movie darker, a little more horror-esque. Just find someone who can actually write a script and make a competent movie. This movie didn't even have to be fantastic. It didn't have to be another, I don't know, Spider-Verse or The Batman. It didn't have to top those movies. It just had to be entertaining, and it failed on every single level, and it's just, because, like, they could make darker Marvel content. It is possible. The new Moon Knight episode, which I think I'm going to do a review of, I don't know, is phenomenal. It was so good, and that had a darker tone to it. They can do it right. It's just, when they leave it in the hands of people that don't know what they're doing, it just falls on its face and becomes this weird tonal mess that just does not work. And I'm happy, honestly, that this movie's bombing. I'm never really happy to see like filmmakers work, you know, bomb, and like people losing their jobs for a movie bombing at the box office. But we need these kinds of movies to not be popular and not be made. Whew, okay, so that's my little rant on Morbius. It was bad. Like, you don't really need me to tell you that, but this is just my 2 cents on it. It was just nothing. This is an absolutely nothing movie. And I think it has a pretty safe spot on my worst list. I'm going to give Morbius a D. This thing was pretty bad. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Morbius. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to be doing a review of The Bubble next, the new Netflix Judd Apatow film. And then I'm going to be giving you my reaction to the Oscars. I wanted to wait a little bit just to let all the drama kind of simmer down. Just because I don't really give a shit about that aspect. I just want to talk about the awards. And then I'm going to be seeing the new A24 movie. I think it's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. I may have gotten that wrong, but I'm so excited to see that. I'm seeing it opening night. or at least when it gets wide released. So I'm very excited for that. And yeah, look out for other stuff regarding to 2021, kind of finally finishing that stuff. So yeah, I'll see you guys later.